Good afternoon. Today's date is February 22nd, 2019. My name is Tyrone Bellinger. Today I will be conducting an interview with Donald Volk Andrews for the Veterans History Project in partnership with the Dalton Council on Aging. This interview is being recorded by the Dalton Community Television Station in Dalton, Massachusetts. Good morning, Don, or good afternoon, I should say.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Donald Andrews,
Okay.
Andrews.
Thank you. Where do you presently live?
In Pittsfield, Mass.
What is your date of birth, and where were you born?
I was born in Pittsfield, and my date of birth is October the 10th. October the 21st, 1924.
Wow, 94 years old?
That's what it is.
God bless you. I'm dreaming about those years. Did you grow up and go to school there?
Yes, I did, yes.
What was life like for you growing up during the Depression?
Well, I was very fortunate. My folks were both working, so that we, at no time did we go to bed hungry.
Yeah.
But it was around us. It was tough. It was difficult.
But you sort of, you were a little bit probably better off than some.
Probably a lot better off than many. And I had 3 sisters, so there was 4 of us, mother
Wow.
and father. So, yep.
You just mentioned you had brothers and sisters. What did your dad do for a living?
He worked with his father in a hardware store. They owned it.
You mentioned that hardware store, and you said it was on North Street?
It was on North Street, 150 North.
Do you know now what is in the place of that store? I know I didn't ask you this question before when we were talking.
What was that?
What is in the place of that store right now, where the hardware store used to be?
Oh, I don't know what's in there now. I think at one time it was a clothing store in the ground floor.
Really?
But the store itself was in 3 floors.
A hardware store?
Sorry, yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's
It was very good size.
way before my time.
Oh, yeah.
Was he a veteran? Was your father a veteran?
Yes, he was. He was World War I.
World War I?
Yeah.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes, I did.
What school?
Pittsfield High.
Pittsfield High School?
Yes.
What did you do after you finished high school?
Went in service.
You went right in right away?
Yes.
Do you remember what year that was?
Yeah, 1943.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I was drafted.
Now, were there a lot of people being drafted at that time, or
Oh, yes.
was it
Many,
both?
Many were.
Many were drafted, not just chose to get it. Yeah.
That's right.
Now, what branch of the service was that?
I was in the Army.
You remember the dates of your service when you went in until you got out?
Well, it was went in June of 43 and came out, I think it was in May of 46.
So you did pretty
Just
much
about 3 years.
3 years.
Just short of 3 years.
Where were you sent to do your basic training when you first went in?
Fort Eustis, Virginia.
Fort Eustis, Virginia?
Yes.
Can you describe some of your basic experiences or training during basic training?
Well, the basic was use of a firearm and the just physical training and sort of the ways of well, I guess what you'd say is what the service expected of you.
Yeah. Did you get a lot of physical training?
Oh, yes, much. Yeah. Like you're referring to the 24-mile hikes, yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was it hard for you to adjust to the new life of, military?
I don't think too badly, no, because I was in fairly good physical shape, so I don't think that part of it fazed me too much.
What type of training, besides the 24-mile hike, did you get? I know you did the physical, but weaponry and stuff like that.
Well, the use of a firearm, of course, and I don't know that. I just basic background, I would think.
Did you ever have any? Did you have any training with weapons prior to being into the military?
No, I did not.
So that was all new.
That was new, yes, it was.
So that had to be scary. I mean,
Yeah. No, that was new.
You were trained on the Springfield. Was it Springfield?
Yeah, Springfield, yeah.
Let's see. All right. How long was the basic training total?
Well, it was 90 days, I think.
90 days?
90 days.
So that's for
Yeah.
pretty much 3 months. 3 months training. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you remember any of your instructors?
No, I don't. No.
Can you describe how you felt the day you graduated from basic training, knowing you had successfully finished?
Well, I think I was relieved a little bit to get in the rough background of it, and more or less after the basic training, then we went and more or less specialized in a given field.
Yeah, that's what my next question. Where did you report to next after basic training? Well, before we go on, you didn't get any leave right after basic training, did you?
No.
You went right on to advanced?
Right, advanced.
Wow. So where did you report to next after basic?
We went from there to Fort Eustis down to Camp Stewart in Georgia, outside of Savannah.
Now, you mentioned something about Camp Bragg too. Is that part of
Well,
the?
I was sent from Savannah, Georgia, up to
Up to Fort Bragg. Now, what was that training that you got? The advanced training that you got?
The advanced training was in master gunnery, which was more or less learning the trajectory strategy along those lines.
That was involved with the anti-aircraft, right? Weapons or guns?
Yeah.
I know we had talked about this before, but I can't remember. What were the calibers of some of these guns? They had different calibers, didn't you?
Well, we were basically working with we'd gone from the Springfield at that time to the M1 and semi-automatic rifle. And the mathematical phase of it, I would say.
But the anti-aircraft guns, though, weren't they bigger?
They were bigger? Oh, yes. Yeah.
Do you remember the calibers of those?
Yeah, well, we were assigned to a half-track, which was, as it sounds, it's a back, had wheels in the front and tracks on the back.
Oh, okay, yes.
And on those mounted, there was two models. One had 4 50 caliber guns on it, and the other one had 2 50 calibers and a 40 millimeter cannon.
On one half track, or really?
Yeah. Well, four
On one.
on the 50 calibers, and then the other one had 2 50 calibers and a cannon.
I know I probably didn't ask you this before. How many men were involved in the crew for the weapon?
On a weapon, you had your gunners and your basically your two gunners and the kept feeding the ammunition.
Yeah.
And the cannoneer or whoever was aiming the gun and firing it again.
Oh, okay, so you're like a three-man crew or a five-man crew?
Basically a three-man.
Three-man crew.
Right.
So if you had to fire those weapons, you guys were busy.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yes.
You didn't get time to have a cup of coffee.
No. No.
Now you're basically done in 1944. You've been in the service for almost a little over a year.
Yeah.
Now you're getting ready to go overseas.
We're getting overseas. Yeah.
When and where did you leave?
We left in December, Christmas Eve, out of New York City.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve. Yeah.
Wow, you didn't get to really celebrate the holidays, huh?
No, we sure didn't.
You spent New Year's Day or New Year's Eve out on the ocean.
Out on the ocean. Yeah.
Do you remember the name of the ship?
The Washington.
George Washington.
Yeah.
Now these are big troop transports.
It was, yes. We built it originally, or it was built in this country. It was captured by the Germans. Then we got it back again.
Really?
And it had quite a history. It had quite a history.
Do you remember about how many men were on that ship?
Oh, I have no idea.
Thousands or?
Oh, yes, yes.
No, when we
There
talked.
was three or four decks,
Really?
and they were pretty full.
Now we talked about it earlier. The Afro-Americans were on that ship. You had some on this ship?
Yes, we did. Yeah,
Where were they?
they were in the bottom of the ship. They were in.
Really?
Yes.
How was the food how was the food aboard ship? They say the Navy cooking was good.
Well, it was pretty crude, but it was satisfactory. You know, it was satisfactory. You were gonna lose weight or anything, but it wasn't fancy.
Yeah.
It wasn't fancy.
Now, on the top deck of that, if I remember from my experience, was there enough room on top deck to go out, get outside, and do the exercises while you were going over?
Oh yeah.
You had time to.
It brought in shifts.
Yeah.
You know, you'd go out for maybe half an hour or something like that, and you'd go back and another group would come up.
So you got a chance to exercise and move around.
And get out. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you got overseas. Where did you land? Do you remember?
We in Southampton, in England.
Okay, that's no. Before that, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You had subs with you.
No, the subs caught up with us.
The subs caught up with you.
We were in a convoy,
Okay.
and which was troops and supplies of all kinds, and off the Azore Islands, the German submarines picked us up.
Really?
Yes.
Did any of the ships get sunk or
We have no way of knowing. They put us inside, and so we couldn't, we could hear the escort ships with their whoop, 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 the noise they made with it, and we could hear the depth charges.
the depth charges? Huh?
Yeah, when they went off.
So you really didn't know if they sunk any of the submarines?
No.
But they kept them away from you.
But I think, as I remember vaguely, there was something like 40 ships in the convoy.
Wow.
So it was a big, and I imagine they probably got some of them.
Yeah. I didn't realize that the convoys were that big.
Oh yes, some of them were huge.
Wow. So now you landed in England.
In England.
Yeah. What was your unit? What was the outfit that you were attached to?
I was anti-aircraft.
You remember the, was it 581st NIAN?
581st. Automatic weapons battalion.
Okay. And how long were you in England? Do you remember?
And where?
How long were you there in England?
Well, not bragging a little bit, but we were good at what we did.
Yeah.
So when we first landed there, they sent us to Scotland to train some of the Scottish troops the use of anti-aircraft weapons.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you did training then before you went into Germany or into Italy or Germany?
Well, we never taught anybody. No, we. Trying to think. No, no time did we actually train anybody.
You didn't train anybody?
Oh, we did. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yes.
So now after you come back from Scotland, I don't know how long you don't remember how long you were in Scotland?
Not too long, probably. Maybe a month. Or
Yeah.
two.
So now you're back in England.
And then back in England, right outside of London.
What was the unit you were in, besides the 581st? There was a Eisenhower? Was it the Eisenhower unit?
No. We were when we went back to England.
Yes.
We were assigned to protect the Eisenhower's headquarters.
Oh, you were assigned to protect it.
Yes.
So now you're keeping the planes off of them.
Right.
Wow, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
So now, when you're done with that duty, you got more time to go. Now, where do you go after you left England?
Then we went into France.
Into France,
Yeah.
and then into Germany. Then you went into Germany.
Into Germany at that point. Yes.
And we mentioned Aachen. How do I say it? Aachen or Aachen? Aachen, Germany.
Germany. That's where we entered, actually, on the border of Germany and France.
Okay. So now, how long are you in Germany?
Oh, probably better part of 15 months.
Really? Let me ask you a question, because I didn't ask you this before. Did you get your anti-aircraft guns?
Oh, yes.
Did you? A lot?
No, not too much, no. Not till we got into Germany, I did.
That's what I mean. Once you got into Germany.
Oh, yes.
Really?
It was active. We were active.
Wow. Now, you talked about the Rhine River. You were with the Second Army at one time?
Yes. The Second Army crossed the Rhine River, and we were set up to protect the bridge, because that was our supply for the Second Army, their food, their ammo, fuels, everything. And of course the Germans didn't want us supplying our troops, so they tried desperately to knock us out and
I was going to say,
they get the bridge.
did they ever get the bridge?
It weakened to the point where they had to put a pontoon bridge in. Yeah,
Really?
They didn't trust it.
They didn't really knock it out, but they damaged it enough so that they...
Damaged beyond repair, yeah.
Wow. I just can't imagine these planes coming in and dropping the bombs.
Well, it's a strange thing. On the far bank, on the German side, was a stone wall, or not a wall, but a mountain. And they had tunneled in from the backside towards the river. So they couldn't get their guns low enough to get us once we were in position. And but by the same token, when they had bomb runs, they couldn't do it because they'd have to release the bombs prior to getting off the bridge.
Yeah.
And so what they would do was, of course, they were very, very short of fuel at that time.
The Germans?
The Germans were. And of course, they just come out with their ME-262 and 63s, which were jets. The first we'd seen a jet at that time.
Really?
Yep. And what they would do is that they'd fly over, circle, and come back in from our backside. And that way they could release their
Bombs?
bombs and stuff. And so our only, what we did, the radar was very good. What they do is they watch the planes coming in. And before they got to the edge of the cliff, if you will, we were getting a signal to fire. So all they would do is when they came over, they flew right into all that flak, that everything was thrown up there. Because we also had, I didn't say it before, but all their railroads were up on elevated. So by pulling up on the tracks, we could get a better elevation.
Yeah.
And so we could blanket that, and they'd fly right into that. And then we had turn. Of course, the turrets on the half tracks were powered, so you could turn them around. So then we could turn them, and if they got through, we could catch them coming back.
Coming back?
Coming back the other way, yeah.
Now, I didn't ask you this before, but do you recall shooting down some of the German planes and seeing them go down?
Yep.
Really?
Oh, yes. That's the part it still bothers me.
Yeah.
And one of the things of this interview that I tried for 70 years to get that out of my mind, so I didn't think about the times. And because we were in that, the Red Cross, of course, monitored us, but we knew that if they parachuted out of their planes or anything like that, they were going to, when they came down, they're going to be there for one thing, to kill us.
Yeah.
And in theory, you didn't shoot a man in a parachute. In theory. Enough said.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, now you saved the bridge. The war is basically winding down.
Yeah.
40, 45, I think it was.
Yep.
So now, did you come home right away, or were you kept overseas?
No, we were. Well, it wasn't too long, because we had. You came home by your point system. The amount of time you've been overseas and all your other battle things, you got points. So we were sent up to camp. They named after cigarettes. Lucky Strike was the camp. That was the name they gave and so we came home from there.
I know you mentioned Camp Lucky Strike, but you also told a little story about the cigarettes that you used to.
Oh yes, after the war was basically, and we got assigned to transport all the German records. They took them all out of Berlin and buried them, hid them, and we were assigned to drive this stuff back into the city. And of course, not everybody smoked, but a carton of cigarettes was 50 cents back in the good old days. There was no tax on the government.
Right, right.
So what we would do, those guys that didn't smoke, we'd buy their cigarettes from them for $20, $30, $40 a carton, and sell them in Berlin for $200 a carton.
Wow.
Yes.
That was quite a markup.
Oh, yes, it was. Yes, it was.
And you didn't have any problem selling them because of...
I know they were anywhere. The American cigarettes were always a prime.
Really? The Germans didn't have cigarettes, basically, or they just couldn't get them? Their own?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I don't know.
But they still liked American...
Oh, yes, they
Wow.
all liked American cigarettes.
Camp Lucky Strike. Now, when you're ready to come home, where did you land? Where did you come into?
Oh, had them down in New Jersey, I would think. I think it was down in New Jersey.
You remember the
It's
fort?
a little vague. I don't. We came out of Devon's.
You came out of Devon's.
It was a final discharge.
Okay. Do you have any memories of that day, being discharged, getting out of the service?
It was just a mass of confusion. I mean, there
Well,
were thousands of us getting out at the same time. So it was just chaos.
Yeah.
It's the only word I could figure to cover it.
How did you feel coming home, to recall the day that you got home, when you came back here to Pittsfield?
By that time I was glad it was over. Of course I had started out as a kid. I did a lot of growing up in the time that I was in.
Those 3 years, yeah.
That's right. And so I think it was just a relief that, that I could maybe have a decent meal and something you could really enjoy.
Nice soft bed again.
A soft bed again, right?
Now, when you left New Jersey, how did you get home? You recall?
No, I took the bus.
You took the bus home?
Bus home, yeah.
Was it hard to adjust back to civilian life? After the 3 years you've been away.
I thought about that many times. I don't think I had that terrible. The pressure was off.
Yeah.
It was whatever normal is in this world today, but I don't know. It was a back to normal situation.
So the adjustment wasn't too hard of getting back,
No, I don't think it really was. No, I didn't. It was.
Did you go back to work or back to school?
I went to work.
You went to work right away. Did you take advantage of the GI Bill?
No, I didn't.
What did you do for a living once you got back to work?
I went in the automobile business. In the
repairing or selling or everything?
No, in mechanics.
Mechanics?
Yeah.
So you were a mechanic for all that time?
40 years.
No.
Well, not 40 years as a mechanic.
Yeah.
But it was in that field.
I know I didn't ask you this before, but when you first started as a mechanic after you got out of the service, did you find the advancement in the automobile, I'm going to say, fast, or was it just gradual? The automobile has changed so much.
Well, that's right, and we are schooling all the time from the companies, Chrysler Corporation or General Motors, and we run schools for the service managers, and then they in turn would train the actual mechanics that were doing the work.
So you were continually going to school besides working. You were continually being updated.
Yeah, right.
Wow. Did you marry and have a family?
Yes, we did.
How many children did you have?
3. Well, so I had 3. Our own. We had 3 girls and 1 son.
One son. Now, when you were working as a mechanic, you met your wife.
Right.
Now, she was your boss all those years?
No.
But you worked with your wife For all those years.
She was in the office, yes.
Wow.
And, so, I ran up through the ranks to service manager, and she did my final paperwork
Paperwork.
for warranties and stuff.
And she took care of your paycheck, right?
Yeah.
You had to go in and ask your wife for your paycheck every week?
Not quite that bad.
Did you keep in touch with any of your buddies or attend any reunions?
Just really only one fellow by the name of Ken Hayes over outside of Albany.
And you kept in touch with him for years?
Yeah.
Wow.
He passed away a good long time ago now.
Did you join any veterans organizations
No, I didn't.
at all? Okay. Can you tell me, do you feel that your service experience had a positive or negative effect on your life? Positive?
Right, definitely positive.
Good. Well, Don, I want to thank you for your service and spending your time to tell us this story. Thank you very much.
You are entirely welcome.